Welcome, creeps. You're listening to the Umbra Tapes, where we dive into unsolved mysteries, disturbing cases, and the downright weird. I'm Gabby.
And I'm Leah. Thanks for creeping in.
If you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. New episodes are released every Friday. Follow the Umbra Tapes on your favorite social media platforms for sneak peeks and updates. If you'd like your small business featured in one of our episodes, or if you have a spooky story or a paranormal encounter to share with our listeners, click the link in the description below to send it our way. Now, let's creep into this week's episode.
There are certain names in true crime that have become larger than the people behind them. Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, the Zodiac Killer, and Dennis Rader, better known as BTK. For 31 years, Rader managed to live a life that from the outside seemed almost impossible to reconcile with the crimes he was committing. He served in the United States Air Force, he was a husband, a father of two, a church council president, a Cub Scout leader. He installed home security systems for a living. To nearly everyone who knew him, Dennis Rader was polite, dependable, and deeply involved in his community. Behind closed doors, however, he was living an entirely different life. One built on obsession, control, and violence. Between 1974 and 1991, he murdered 10 people throughout the Wichita, Kansas area. He taunted investigators with letters, poems, and cryptic messages, and would ultimately become one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. This is part one of our two-part series where we're deep diving into the serial killer who is BTK. I knew nothing about BTK before I started looking into this.
I mean, I feel like if you know anything about serial killers in general, like you've heard of BTK,
I would
but
say only a name.
it's like, unless you're just like very fascinated with a serial killer, you don't really deep dive into a particular one unless they come out, with something like the monster story
or something. Yeah.
Ed Gein and all that stuff. But yeah.
On my discovery of BTK, this became like one of the most disturbing serial killers to me, and I don't know what it is specifically that made me feel that way, because others just seem like larger than life, like they've become an icon, like up there with horror movie icon slashers.
Yeah.
Like their faces are super recognizable, people put them on t-shirts and mugs. But like, I feel like BTK isn't as prominent. Like, do you even know what he looks like?
I know what he looks like, yes. But I went to the Serial Killer Museum in New York City when they had that open. And I seen a lot of serial killers, a lot of ones I didn't even know. There was some that killed hundreds of people that I've never even heard of. So I guess it depends on how much like news coverage they've gotten or what exactly in their stories makes them more apt to watch or listen about or something like that. But yeah, it's kind of weird.
Were they in our country? Were they from our country?
I didn't think so.
Okay, because I know there are some I think there's a Russian serial killer that has hundreds of kills.
That might have been it. Yeah, there was a Russian one. There was someone from Colombia that was
Telling you like Ben?
I don't remember, but they had, the way that they had it, I shouldn't say cool, but it was cool how they kind of had each room set up in the way of like a specific serial killer. And the one that the Colombian guy was, it was like kind of like a hallway, and there was like graves dug with bodies, and a lot of them were children, unfortunately. But yeah, so it was the way that they had each room set up. And BTK, did he have his own room?
He did.
Yeah.
My brother sent me a thing the other day, and it was that they had a serial killer exhibit going on in Chicago.
I think they move it.
Oh, so
from prominent area to prominent. Yeah, so
it makes sense because he was like, no, this is like the only one in the world. And I was like, but Leah literally just went to one in New York.
They move it.
Oh, yep. That would make sense.
Yeah.
By the end of 1973, the Otero family believed they had finally found stability. Joseph Otero had spent years serving in the United States Air Force. Military life meant constant movement, new assignments, new home, and new routines. Like countless military families, the Oteros learned to adapt wherever duty called. But after Joseph retired from active service, that chapter of their lives had finally come to an end. They settled in Wichita, Kansas, hoping civilian life would offer something military service rarely could. Permanence. Julia immediately found work on the assembly line at the Coleman factory, helping support the family's fresh start. Joseph was beginning a next chapter in his own career, and together they were raising 5 children. But before Wichita, before Coleman, before Kansas, Julia's story began nearly 2,000 miles away. Julia was born on January 31st, 1940 in Ponce, Puerto Rico. Ponce was one of Puerto Rico's oldest cities, a place deeply rooted in tradition, music, and family. Those values shaped Julia from an early age and remained with her throughout her life. She was raised in a devout Catholic household where compassion wasn't simply encouraged, it was expected. Friends and relatives would later remember Julia as someone whose faith extended well beyond church walls. She believed in helping people whenever she could. In later years, she would even invite orphan children into her home during Christmas so they would have a place to spend the holidays. That generosity wasn't an isolated act. It was simply who she was. She carried an immense pride in her Puerto Rican heritage throughout her life. Whether it was her language, her traditions, or food that she prepared for her family, Julia never left that part of herself behind. While she was still a young woman, Julia met Joseph Otero. Joseph was serving in the United States Air Force, a disciplined, ambitious young man whose career would take the couple around the world. Together, they embraced military life, raising a growing family while adapting to assignment after assignment. Military life sounds really hard.
Yeah, but she sounds like an amazing woman. She's inviting like orphans into her house for Christmas so they're not alone. And
Yeah.
she's got, does she have the kids with Joseph or
Yeah.
are they, okay. I wasn't sure if she had.
Yeah, no, they had them together. Yes, so she has 5 children. She's a
God bless.
devoted mother, devoted wife. Like, she sounds great.
Yeah.
This family sounds great. It sounds like no matter like what they did, they like remained together and loved one another and just like have a great, which I think most military families do have because they do have that life where they travel around and they don't know where they're going to be next.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of exciting at the same time, though.
It does, but at the same time, if you have 5 children, dragging them across the country all the time, it's more, I feel like when you're an adult that those things are okay, but with a kid, they don't understand that sense of home if they're constantly not.
Yeah. Sure, I've like a friend, they're being ripped away from them.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it sounds like a hard life. When the family arrived in Wichita in late 1973, they weren't chasing excitement. They were chasing normalcy. Joseph had retired from military service. Julia had taken a job at Coleman. Her home at North Edgemore Street wasn't extraordinary. It didn't need to be. It was home. Unfortunately, while the Oteros were settling into their new life in Wichita, another Kansas native was trying just as hard to build a life that appeared completely ordinary. His name was Dennis Rader. To understand this case, it is important to recognize that there were always 2 versions of Dennis Rader. There was a man everyone knew, and there was a man that no one did. The first was polite, dependable, and quiet. The kind of man whose neighbors waved without giving a second thought. Second existed entirely in secret, hidden beneath years of carefully constructed normalcy. That version had been growing since childhood. Just how much do you know about Dennis Rader? Like, do you know, like, his childhood? Do you know when his first kill was?
No, I don't know anything specific, but I do know now that he has the same middle name as me, which is creepy.
I mean, I think there's probably a vast population that has the middle name Lynn. I mean,
but he's a man.
This is true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I don't like that. You can't have my middle name. Get your own.
I knew like BTK like by name, but I had no idea what his real name was.
Oh, I did. I did know it was Dennis Rader. I knew that. I know exactly what he looks like. He's got the cul-de-sac like hair, cul-de-sac there. Sort of the glasses. Yeah.
He looks extremely ordinary.
But it's so crazy that, you know, it could be your neighbor. It could be anybody's neighbor because he is, and I know exactly what they mean.
He looks like a man.
Yes, and just nice. And he was in the Boy Scouts, they said, or like a Boy Scout leader, and like all these crazy things. You don't even, just the whole different side of somebody, and you have no idea.
No idea.
It's scary.
That is what's so disturbing about this.
Yeah, and it seems like most serial killers are like that. Like they are like, they have 2 completely separate lives. Yes, yeah.
Some of them have a hard time like masking that other side. Like eventually it just like comes out.
Yeah. Like people turn into a hermit and then people definitely know they're like weirdos or which in his case, it just seems like your everyday neighbor.
Never came out with him.
Yeah.
Dennis Rader was born on March 9th, 1945 in Pittsburgh, Kansas. He was the oldest of 4 boys. By all outward appearances, there was nothing particularly unusual about his upbringing. His father, William Bill Rader, was a former United States Marine who later worked for Kansas Gas Service. His mother, Gabbi May, worked long hours as a bookkeeper while raising her 4 sons. The family attended Zion Lutheran Church regularly. Dennis participated in Cub Scouts and church youth group. To neighbors and teachers, the Raiders looked completely ordinary. Hardworking, Midwestern family. But ordinary childhoods can still produce complicated inner lives. Dennis would later describe feeling emotionally neglected by his mother during his childhood. Over time, these feelings developed into resentment, specifically towards women he believed exercised independence or control over him. At some point during his youth, an otherwise mundane household incident became deeply significant to him. He watched as his mother became briefly tangled in a set of bed sheets while getting out of bed. Most children would have forgotten the moment almost immediately. Dennis Rader didn't. Years later, he admitted that seeing someone physically restrained triggered feelings of excitement he didn't fully understand at the time. It was one of the earliest memories he associated with what would eventually become his obsession with bondage and control. Those thoughts didn't disappear as he grew older, they evolved. During childhood games that involved tying one another up, Dennis quietly discovered that those activities produced excitement. He instinctively understood it wasn't normal. Rather than sharing those thoughts with anyone, he buried them. He practiced in secret. He experimented with self-binding, cross-dressing, and autoerotic asphyxiation, all while carefully ensuring that the 2 versions of his self never collided. As disturbing as those fantasies were, they eventually stopped being enough. According to Rader's own later admissions, sometime between the ages of 8 and 9, he began killing small animals. Using knot-tying skills he had learned as a child, he practiced hanging and strangling them in isolated barns. Those acts continued throughout much of his youth, remaining completely hidden from the people around him. This is something extremely disturbing as, like, a mother to a young boy.
I'm like, my stomach is like, my heart's like in my stomach right now. Just even like thinking about that. And like, I could never like put myself in those shoes, but I just don't get how you could just do that to like an animal, at all, let alone a person, but like an innocent.
I feel maybe there might be some give or take with like, are animals more innocent than human beings are? Like,
yeah,
like human beings, we all have our sins, whereas animals, they're just...
Yeah, but when you're a psychopath and you have psychotic tendencies, you don't have empathy, so you don't care what they feel. No, like there's no attachment to these things. So I don't understand it. I love every single creature, animal I come in contact with. Besides spider. Oh, okay. I don't kill them anymore. I've learned to love them.
Okay, spiders. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, honestly, it is because of you. Because you tell me.
I do.
Don't do it.
Well, I often have this conversation with my boyfriend because he likes to tell our son, like, oh, snakes are mean or snakes are bad. I'm like, they're not bad. They're just living their lives. They're just doing what they do.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you should be careful of them, mind their space, but they're not inherently bad creatures. They're just existing.
Share the earth with people.
I do understand where he's coming from, though. He wants them to, give them a wide berth, in case something does go awry. It is really unsettling to me, though. Like, something as small as getting, like, caught in your bed sheets can trigger something like this in your child.
Yeah, and feeling excitement over it is so weird to me.
There's got to be something else going on there. I mean, yeah, he said that he had resentment towards her because he felt neglected. He didn't like the fact that she was like a working mom, and he felt he didn't get enough attention.
And 4 kids, and I can totally understand.
I can understand him feeling that way, as well as I can understand his mom feeling like she has to do what she has to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like I can only like picture myself like every day being in a predicament or a situation like this, you know, like, oh, I trip over a piece of clothing or something on the floor, and it's like my son is just there. It's like, what is going to change his mind? Like, is something like what's going to happen?
Gonna click in his head where that is exciting and fun to him. Like
it's kind of it makes you think, and it makes you scared to be a parent. It does.
It absolutely does. But it's also hard to see how like somebody can just be psychotic. I don't know, like that. Especially like with
what animals ends up doing is insane, because you do think about his family life, and by all accounts, it was just normal. He just had a working mom. He felt slightly neglected, but it wasn't like he was being beat. It wasn't like he had drug addicts for parents. It wasn't like they left him somewhere. Like they lived a totally normal life.
Yep.
You would understand somebody having that switch flipped if they were living like a stressful childhood.
Yeah.
But by all accounts, it was completely normal.
Which is maybe why we can never get into the mind of a serial killer fully.
Not this one.
Cannot understand.
Not this one. Other ones I understand, you know? You understand, like, they had shitty childhoods, and you're like, okay, I get it. I mean, obviously that doesn't rationalize them killing, but you understand.
Yeah, what
happened in their brain, yeah. Outwardly, however, Dennis was simply another quiet teenager. He wasn't particularly popular. He rarely dated. Friends described him as socially awkward and reserved, especially around girls. But after getting his driver's license, another habit began to emerge. Dennis called it trolling. He would drive through neighborhoods for no reason other than to watch women. Like many young men in the mid-1960s, Dennis eventually faced an uncertain future. College didn't last, neither did his first civilian jobs. In 1966, Dennis Rader enlisted in the United States Air Force. At 21 years old, the decision gave him something he had struggled to find after high school: a clear direction. Over the next 4 years, Rader served as an antenna installer and maintenance specialist. His assignments took him overseas to countries including Turkey, Greece, South Korea, and Japan. By all accounts, his military record was uneventful. He performed his duties, earned routine commendations, rose to the rank of staff sergeant, and was honorably discharged in 1970. There was nothing in his military evaluations that suggested the violence he was privately fascinating about. So I think it's like only natural that Dennis did join the military. I mean, his father was in the military. But what strikes me is that he had such an ordinary existence in the military. Like, none of his tendencies reared their head while he was there. At least nothing that was brought to the surface.
And this is kind of like one of the thoughts that I was actually thinking while you were reading. Like, if you were going to, these things were part of like your fantasies and stuff that you wanted to be involved in, and I mean secretly, yes, sure, but I feel like the military, and I hate to say it in like this way, but I feel like the military would be like a good place to do that, because you have lethal like orders to kill people, and it's not as weird.
Well, I got you.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as like weird as it would be in your suburban neighborhood home, but like then go overseas and, you know, to the enemy or like bad people, not even just like, I don't know, find someone that deserves it. Like, I don't know, you know?
I guess, I mean, I hate to bring him up again because I'm always bringing him up, but Dexter, he's one of those people that lived like a duality of life. Like, he had this face that everybody else seen, and then he had this life that nobody did. But the fact that he had that feeling within him, the desire to kill people, and he targeted people who deserved it. I mean,
exactly. That would make sense to me. But a lot of the people that, like, obviously in his case, they were surrogates for his mom, I'm assuming.
But I don't, at the same time, it's hard to say.
Yeah, it is hard to say, because it's not like they were all his mom. Like, they didn't all look like her. They didn't all act like her. I think it was maybe one or two. And then after a certain point, he probably was like, oh, this is fun. And then it wasn't about that anymore.
I think it's wild that he was in the military and he didn't do anything in the military that would like raise suspicion or alarm with anybody. Like, he didn't. But maybe is it because there wasn't women there?
Maybe.
I mean, I think, like, yeah, women were in the military in the 1960s, but it definitely isn't as prominent as it is now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They were mostly nurses.
Yeah, like, they were not, like, active duty or whatever. So maybe that's why it didn't. But
yeah, maybe.
We'll come to learn in, like, later down the line that he didn't discriminate. Like,
yeah, not man, woman. Yeah, that's kind of why I don't think that they were. I mean, at first they might have been surrogates, but
there is something about the way that he kills men, though, that, like, isn't, like, they're not targeted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just random.
By circumstance, Rader returned to Kansas and another chapter of his life was beginning. Through his Lutheran church community, Dennis met a young woman named Paula Dietz. They shared similar religious backgrounds, attended the same church, and were introduced through mutual acquaintances. Their relationship progressed quickly. They married on May 22nd, 1971. Friends and family saw what appeared to be a stable young couple beginning their lives together. Like so many newlyweds, they talked about careers, children, and building a future. Looking back with the benefit of hindsight, it's tempting to see every milestone in Dennis Rader's life as part of an elaborate deception. But the truth is probably more complicated than that. Dennis genuinely built a life. He became a husband. Later, he would become a father. He maintained friendships. He attended church. He paid bills. He laughed with coworkers. Those things were real. The horrifying reality is that so were the fantasies he never shared with anyone. Thinking that you found, like, your person and you're gonna live with them and love them, and then you later down the line find that they're just this completely different person. Like, I can't even imagine what that feels like.
I mean, I have a lot of ex-boyfriends that were like that.
Like, complete shift, like, didn't true colors at all. And I mean, I think, like, deep down, like, all the red flags that I seen in my ex-partners, like, I seen them. I did not refuse to face them.
It's like even just little things like that. Like, this is a very severe, like, crazy situation where, like, you know, there's always something I feel like that people hide in relationships, like, about themselves until they're really comfortable with somebody. And then you can kind of start to see those little things or they're comfortable showing them. But this is like a very severe case.
I mean,
a different double life. Like,
I don't take my eyebrows off with my partner for, like, the first couple weeks I know him, but, like,
saying it's like there is, like, some things where you have just away from that person that maybe sometimes you'll never share with that person, and that's just okay. But this is just completely out there.
Yeah, this is extreme for sure.
Extreme.
I feel extremely bad for his wife. I mean, especially because you wouldn't expect something like this. Like, you pick up, like, a biker dude and you're like, okay, like, you would expect something like that from them, but not this, like, church going, like, military, like, you know.
I do, yeah.
Well put together man. In 1972, Dennis accepted a job at the Coleman Company in Wichita, assembling camp equipment. It wasn't glamorous work, but it provided a steady paycheck as he settled into civilian life. To his co-workers, he was quiet, reliable, easily overlooked. Around that time, another employee walked through the doors of the Coleman plant. Leah Otero had recently arrived in Wichita with her family, following Joseph's retirement from the Air Force. Like Dennis, she was simply trying to help provide for her family. Unlike Dennis, she had no idea someone was paying attention. Leah's employment at Coleman lasted only a matter of weeks before the company downsizing cost her the job. For most people, it would have been little more than an unfortunate setback. For Dennis Rader, a few weeks were all he needed. During later interviews and court proceedings, investigators learned that Rader had developed specific physical preferences that frequently influenced his victim selection. He harbored a powerful attraction to women with dark hair, dark eyes, and dark skin. Julia, who was of Puerto Rican descent, fit that image. He became fixated on her, but fixation wasn't enough. Dennis Rader rarely acted impulsively. He preferred preparation, observation, and control. After seeing Julia at the Coleman plant, he began waiting for her after work. From a distance, he followed her car through the streets of Wichita until he learned where she lived. When the family later moved to a different home on North Edgemore Street, Rader quietly followed once again, making note of the new address. He wasn't looking for an opportunity that day, he was collecting information. And over the coming weeks, that information slowly became a plan. Almost every serial killer develops a method. For Dennis Rader, murder didn't begin with violence. It began with surveillance. He watched, he waited, he learned routines. Who left for work, who came home. Which doors were used, which lights came on. Every ordinary habit became another piece of information. By January 1974, Dennis Rader believed he knew exactly when the Otero family would be their most vulnerable. What he didn't know was that one small change in their morning routine was about to alter everything. The fact that he never even met her, she never even met him.
That's so crazy because he's stalking the shit out of her. Gabbi, you fit his profile. Oh my. Yeah, dark hair, dark eyes, dark skin. Wow. Who would have known that luscious caramel color? Oh, he's so, alluring.
The fact that she never noticed him, but like he noticed her, and it literally only took like a week.
Yeah.
For him to like set.
But he had preferences. He had preferences. And he followed her and he stalked her.
Yeah.
Imagine someone following you home from work and then following you home to your new house.
They're insane.
After you moved from that house. And now he knows where you moved.
Somebody who you never even seen, never even blinked at, never even.
Yeah, that's so insane.
Think about like the amount of interactions you have day to day. You know, like what do? You go get in the car, you know, you might see the paper boy, you might see the mailman, you might see your neighbor. You go to Tim Hortons, you might get a coffee, you might say hi to them, you might go to the library. You know what I mean? Like the amount of interactions you have every single day, and you don't know what stuff break.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Like you could have did something really cute. You could have flipped your hair the wrong way at the wrong person, and they would have been like,
or just looked like she looked because he just had a preference of that. She didn't even do anything. She just existed.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yo.
And this is his pattern too. Like every person he killed was exactly like this.
Like stalking.
Yes. But not because of like an interaction he had with this person, not because of something they did even. It was just
that's just he just had his sights set on them, and that was that.
It's crazy. You don't even.
Yeah, you really don't.
What makes you question every single person you interact with?
Yeah, maybe that's why it's so unsettling. You said you couldn't figure out why this is.
Well, I don't know. I know it is. But like, I mean,
oh my God,
think about the other serial killers and all the other crazy shit they did. But maybe it is because it's usually so ordinary.
It depends, but. Like Jeffrey Dahmer, like met his victims, Lord, that John Wick is, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This, like, there's no formal interaction at all.
No.
Crazy.
Unbelievable.
Shortly after 8 that morning, Dennis Rader arrived at the Otero home carrying a handgun, lengths of cord, and tools. Before approaching the house, he cut the telephone line, ensuring no one inside could call for help. His plan had been built around weeks of surveillance. He believed only Julia and the 11-year-old Josephine would be home. He was wrong. Joseph Otero and 9-year-old Joey were still inside the house. According to Rader's later account, Joseph immediately moved to protect his family. Rader responded by pointing the handgun towards the children and threatening to kill them if Joseph resisted. Faced with an impossible decision, Joseph complied. Rader claimed he was a fugitive who only needed food, money, and a family's car. It was a lie intended to gain compliance and prevent anyone from fighting back. Believing cooperation offered the best chance of survival, the family followed his instructions. He bound each of them with cords and moved them into the master bedroom. Joseph Otero was the first to die. Rader placed a bag over his head before tightening a cord around his neck until he suffocated. The man who had spent his life protecting his family died trying to protect them one final time. Julia was murdered next. She was strangled with rope. During sentencing decades later, investigators revealed that one of the last things she said to her killer was, "May God forgive you for that." Those words reflected the faith that had guided her life long before Dennis Rader ever knew her name. After the parents were dead, Rader went to Joey's bedroom and suffocated the boy with a plastic bag on his floor. Rader then carried the 11-year-old Josephine into the basement, tied a rope around her neck, and hung her from a water pipe. Years later, investigators concluded that she was the primary object of his fantasies that morning. The method he chose reflected years of violent obsession and the control he had imagined long before he ever entered the Otero home. It was just after lunch on January 15th, 1974, like countless other school days, Charlie, Danny, and Carmen Otero began making their way home. There was nothing to suggest that this afternoon would be any different from the day before. Home was supposed to be a place of routine. Lunch, dishes still sitting in the sink, school papers scattered across the kitchen table, their parents asking how class went. Instead, they walked into silence. The house didn't feel right. There were no familiar voices. Then the children began to discover what Dennis Rader had left behind. Realizing something was terribly wrong, Charlie ran from that house to the neighbor's home pleading for help. Within minutes, neighbors were calling police and emergency responders rushed to North Edmore Street. Wichita had just become the scene of one of the worst mass murders in the city's history. So we just went through his first murder.
That is so terrifying.
Unfortunately, it wasn't just one person. I mean,
Yeah.
it was half of this family.
That's wild. No, he didn't think that they were going to be home, yet he has been surveilling them this entire time. I don't know how he didn't know
This is a trend for him.
Okay. So I guess that's a good thing because it kind of messes his plans up. But at the same time, he's kind of doing these things on the fly. So that makes it even scarier because now he's just
unpredictable. Yeah, now he's just
Still
killing
right.
people by happenstance.
Yeah.
The one thing that struck me about this, though, was that they claimed, and I don't know if this even came from his own mouth, but that Josephine, the 11-year-old girl, was actually his target. It would make sense that Julia would be, because not only did she fit his profile, but
He was stalking her, not her children.
I mean, maybe it was just like a little cherry on top for him. I don't know.
Maybe. Or it was easier to do because she was smaller, like the way that he actually wanted to do it, but he couldn't do it that way. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, he did kill her last, almost like he savored it.
That's so messed up. Look, I don't even like that word.
No, it's 3:59. But it is wild, though, that these people were just going about their day, not even knowing that this man was here at their house, watching them.
No, and that our
It could
kids
be like
her other kids.
anybody. It could have been your meter man. It could have been,
Yeah.
just like
Could have been anybody for real. I don't know. I think too, like with him in particular, if he's been stalking this woman, you would really. Did he not surveil the morning of? I just don't get how he's been doing it for weeks.
Yeah, what happened was he thought that he knew their pattern, which I'm assuming he actually did know their pattern, but things changed.
Yeah.
Well, so clearly he didn't have like a backup plan. He didn't abort. I don't know if the family had 2 cars and whatever. They only had one family car and it was there or it wasn't there.
Yeah, you'd think after all that work, he would have been a little smarter and known that. I mean, not like his plan didn't work out exactly probably how he wanted it to, but more work on his part.
that almost half of this family got wiped out because
I think he
okay.
definitely messed up, but I wonder, are we sure that the daughter was the target, or is it they're just saying that because of how she was killed?
Yeah, I think that's why the investigators speculated that she was the target was because she was the only one who was killed differently.
Yeah, okay.
And that he took her away from the site and brought her somewhere else. But either way, it still doesn't make sense.
Maybe he wasn't his original intended target, and it became
that.
Because, and I'm still going with the theory, and I'm no serial killer here, but I'm just going with the theory that maybe it was easier for him to do that because she was smaller.
Yeah.
I really think that
It was easier
because it was his first time
What do you
doing
think
it.
that after something like that happened and he had that revelation okay, children are easier to control, they're easier to bind, you would think that would become a part of his pattern, but it doesn't.
Well, I'm no serial killer, like I said, but I don't know, maybe that was maybe it was just practice and
It was a training wheel.
yeah.
Yeah. Detectives arriving at the home were immediately confronted with a crime scene unlike anything many of them had encountered before. 4 members of the same family murdered inside their own home, yet there were few signs that valuables had been taken. The victims had been restrained. The method used suggested planning rather than impulse. Whoever committed these murders had come prepared. That realization was deeply unsettling, because it meant the killer hadn't simply stumbled upon the Otero family. he had chosen them. In the days that followed, investigators worked tirelessly to reconstruct what happened inside the family home. Detectives interviewed neighbors, co-workers, relatives, and friends. Every lead, no matter how small, was followed. Every unfamiliar vehicle, every suspicious person, every rumor that circulated through Wichita neighborhoods was documented and investigated. But investigators faced a difficult reality from the very beginning. There were no eyewitnesses, no obvious suspect, no apparent motive. The Oteros weren't known to have enemies. They weren't involved in criminal activity. By every account, they were just an ordinary family. Joseph Otero had been in the Air Force and previously lived in Panama. Investigators falsely suspected that the murders might have been a political hit or cartel-related vengeance. This misdirection caused police to look in the wrong direction for months. The question investigators kept returning to was simple: why this family? No one had answers. While surviving family members were beginning to comprehend the loss, almost impossible to describe, Dennis Rader quietly returned to his own life. To everyone around him, nothing appeared different. The young husband who had gone to work that morning returned as if it were any other day. No one could have imagined where he had spent that morning. This entire town was torn apart by this.
So I was just thinking to the room that they had at this serial killer exhibit for BTK, it was this family.
Oh, it was?
Yes. It was like an old couch, and then there was, unfortunately, people hanging with bags on their heads. And it was like a child. I think it was in pajamas even. And I think it was just
museum. This museum is gruesome.
It is. It's
one thing to like tell the history, but to like,
oh yeah, they had like displays, straight up displays, and it had like old antique furniture. I think maybe one of them was sitting in a chair, like with the bag on their head.
Oh,
so it was like a bag, and then I believe the rope was around the neck with the bag.
Okay, that would make sense.
That is a museum. My God.
It was.
It's totally one thing to have like, I don't know, like the Ted Bundy car. Like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But to like literally visualize like the murders is crazy. That's crazy work.
Yeah. I mean, they make it an immersive somewhat experience, if you will. So,
I mean, I've had obvious fascination with serial killers. I mean, I wouldn't go to the extreme of some people, but doing this, like the research, the finding like photographs and like literally looking into it has made me like less desensitized to it because I know so much more.
It's a lot of information.
It is.
With these types
and
of
I feel like it's
detail
causing me to like reflect on my thoughts and opinions on like serial killers and people that are like deeply immersed in the culture of it, because it is like a subculture.
It's a good thing because it's not normal. It's not a thing to, I don't know. I mean, no, it's some people are fascinated by it because they might be some fucking weirdos.
Yeah, maybe it's like itching at statue. They can't detach themselves.
Yeah, but there's other people that are more just trying to learn and maybe prevent it, being on the defensive side of it more than anything, so you can get into the mind of somebody who might do this to you.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's fascinating, and it's something within human nature that we are gravitating to. I don't know why, but it is something that we just do. I mean,
I just could never, I could never, ever, and I'm glad that I could never understand it or like put myself in this man's shoes. Like,
I can for some serial killers, I can put myself into their like headspace and understand like the hurt that they felt when they were growing up and how it created a monster.
Yeah.
But someone like him, man, it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes literally no sense.
Absolutely not. And it doesn't say anything about him having any, I mean, obviously he has mental illness, but this wasn't like brought up that he was psychotic in some way. And they didn't learn about the animals, it seems like, until after they dove into him.
Isn't that like the checklist of like serial killers is hurting animals?
It's more just like the psychotic tendencies, that the no empathy, the hurting small animals, arson, bedwetting, all those things.
But this guy had empathy.
Yeah, I don't
understand. Like, he had a family, he had neighbors, he had friends, he had coworkers, he had people who he liked, who he enjoyed being around. While the city searched desperately for answers, the man responsible blended effortlessly into the background. It was exactly where he wanted to be. Later, Dennis Rader would explain that the murders hadn't satisfied him. If anything, they intensified the fantasies he had spent years trying to control. He had imagined killing for much of his life. Now imagination had been replaced by experience. The boundary that had once separated fantasy from reality no longer existed. The man who walked away from their Otero home on January 15th wasn't simply someone who had committed a murder. He was someone who now knew he could commit it and escape.
That's one of the worst things to happen is getting away with it.
Yeah, like now he knows he can do it, and if anything, it just like, it satiated like an urge that he had.
Yeah, I know.
Now
He's thinking of different ways and
exactly
different people and
coming up with things that he did wrong. Like obviously he scoped out this house and he didn't scope it out enough.
you always say practice makes perfect. And you think about that in every other sense besides this, but this is something like that serial killers actively do is practice their and get their MO and figure out what they like, what they don't like, what they could do better next time. You know, and it's so crazy to think about things like that.
I think that he never actually perfected his kill. I mean, this is something that we'll learn. I mean, by the end of this series, you're going to understand that this man was terrible at what he did.
Oh, I guess that's a good and a bad thing because it got him caught. Really, for being bad at what he thought he was trying to do with her. But
could you imagine like what this does to like a community's psyche? I mean, as far as we know, we haven't had any like super big like serial killers or people that have even killed more than once like in our relative area. I mean, I think the closest thing we had in Buffalo was like the bike path arpist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. Or what was that one? Was it like Bucky or something like that? The guy that like killed and like ran off into the woods?
Phillips. Yeah. And then we also had, there's more. The guy that went to Tops and just shot up the place.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've had like our fair share of like random things like that, but not in our actual like, no, he was put in our street.
Little like tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in like small towns. I mean, Buffalo is huge and the crime rate is exhaustive.
I feel like, and I don't even care. I feel like if that happened within a mile of me, I would move.
Yeah.
I would figure it.
Especially something like this. Especially something like this, right?
Yes.
Because who could be anybody.
I'd be gone. I'm living in my van in the middle of fucking nowhere. No one's ever gonna find me. Like, no, I don't know. That's very sad, but it will disturb the whole community. I mean, their children went to school with these children and they lived on they were their neighbors. I mean, they knew them from maybe church or their work, and everybody's up in arms about things like this that would happen in your community.
I couldn't imagine something like this happening in either of our like small towns. It would rip it apart, I think.
Oh, God.
I feel like people would be like rioting in the streets.
Yeah.
People are already doing that over like a few cars getting broken into or whatever. I mean,
Second Amendment, baby.
Yeah. Strap up.
Yes, scraps.
7 months after the Otero murders, Dennis Rader was looking for another victim. This time, his attention turned toward 21-year-old Kathryn Bright. Kathryn was ambitious, independent, and deeply artistic. Her life revolved around her family, education, and her close friends. Her family remembered her as creative, outgoing, and vibrant. She loved painting, drawing, and crafting. She had a genuine passion for the arts. Kathryn was also a dedicated student at Wichita State University, where she was majoring in language arts. She dreamed of becoming a teacher. To help pay her way through school, Kathryn worked on the assembly line at the Coleman Company camping gear factory in Wichita. It was the same factory where Dennis Rader had worked between 1972 and 1973. But by April of 1974, Kathryn's life had moved well beyond the factory. She was 21 years old, living with her younger brother Kevin, going to college and working towards a future she had imagined for herself. On April 4th, Kathryn had been at the university. Around 4 o'clock that afternoon, Kevin drove her home from campus. She was planning to attend an evening class that day. The two siblings were preparing to spend a quiet few hours together before she had to leave. Neither of them knew that someone was waiting for them. Dennis Rader had followed Kathryn to her home on East 13th Street. Unlike his prolonged surveillance of the Otero family, Rader had not spent weeks studying Kathryn's house. Instead, he waited down the street for her to arrive. And when Kathryn and Kevin approached the back door, he was waiting for them. Kathryn pulled up to her home, accompanied by her 19-year-old brother, Kevin. As they walked to the back door, Dennis Rader ambushed them at gunpoint and forced his way inside. Once again, Rader relied on deception before violence. He convinced Kathryn and Kevin that if they cooperated, they would be allowed to leave. Then he tied them up. Rader took Kathryn into a separate bedroom and attempted to strangle her with a cord. Kevin heard his sister screaming. At that point, he realized this wasn't a robbery. This man wasn't looking for a car. He wasn't looking for money. He was going to kill them. Despite being restrained, Kevin managed to break free. He rushed into the room and attacked Rader. What followed was a brutal, chaotic struggle. Rader pulled his gun and shot Kevin twice in the face, but Kevin survived, and critically, he escaped. Learned that a witness had gotten away, Rader realized he had lost control of the situation, but Kathryn was still alive. She fought back fiercely as Rader attempted to strangle her. His original plan was no longer unfolding the way he had intended, and in the struggle, he pulled a knife. He stabbed Kathryn multiple times in the abdomen before fleeing through the back door. Kathryn was rushed to the hospital, but her injuries were too severe. Later that evening, 21-year-old Kathryn Bright died. The woman who had been studying language arts, working towards becoming a teacher, and building a future for herself was gone, and her brother Kevin was left to survive what they had just witnessed. For Dennis Rader, the attack had been a disaster. He had failed to maintain control. He had left a living witness, and that witness had seen his face. I blew that away.
Thank God.
He was shot in the face.
Twice. You should have seen my face while you were reading. I'm like, and then you were like, he's still alive. I'm like,
yeah.
like, what?
I'm really happy he got away.
But it does seem like he lost a lot of control in the situation. He had a knife on him just in case, so I don't know how
you see what I'm
saying. He had the strength to kind of pull this off, and two people. I feel like it would be tough enough with just one person, let alone two people, but he just coerced them and kind of get them to comply.
I don't know what his plan was, though, because if he had targeted Katie, like, where did Kevin come into this play? Especially if I guess maybe he didn't know Kevin was there because he didn't surveil them.
Maybe.
And he obviously, like, watched him walk in the house, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe he was already in the house and ambushed them. He guessed maybe he didn't know Kevin was going to be there.
Yeah, but again, that's kind of what I was saying, because it's like, how hard is it with one person, let alone two? But he coerces them and they kind of like, okay, yeah, I'll do whatever you want until a certain point. So he's got them controlled by tying them up at a certain point, and then he kind of takes one off and hopes and prays the other one's not gonna. But
that's what I'm saying. So, like, at this point, he's already killed 4 people and he was working on his 5th.
Well, maybe he didn't think it was gonna be this tough this time.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like he still...
He had no leverage either. Like the other family, the Otero family, had their children as like leverage for the adults to do what he said.
Yeah.
And then children can't put up a fight really against a grown man. But in this situation, they're both adults. So I don't know.
I think it's just wild that, like, he on impulse decided to choose again after the last one.
Yeah.
He went so completely awry. Like, why? Like, shouldn't you go forward and, like, plan and be more calculating with what you're doing? But not only that, I feel like it was, like, building in him. He was like, I have to do this again. Like, after he got that feeling and sensation of killing the first time, he was like, I have to do it again. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not scoping this one out. I'm not taking as long. Like, I can't wait.
I just gotta do it. Yeah. Which I'm surprised he waited 7 months, because if it was that big of a itch he needed to scratch, sometimes they do him like...
Yeah, a lot racer to that.
Yeah.
You would feel like the fact that Kevin got away, though, would bust this case wide open. You know what I mean? Like, he's seen his face, he heard his voice. I mean, he was in the immediate room with him. Like, he was close enough to be, like, physically tied up with him.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, 70s again. What is he? Yeah. Well, he's a human being. I mean, what? Like, maybe if he was, like, wearing a watch or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, but I know he could have at least
he would have still had to be in like the database.
Yeah, and he could have given a lot of like good, useful information, regardless of if he knew exactly who he was or whatever, you know.
Well, unfortunately, like that wasn't the case. Like it didn't blow the lid off of this. Like just like having like a 100% witness to the crime on a person that literally got away still doesn't blow the case line open.
I would have followed him home. You was like, wait, no,
Kathryn Bright's survival changed the investigation. For the first time, police had something they hadn't had after the Otero murders, a living witness. Kevin had been shot in the head and face, but he had managed to escape the house and get help. Despite everything he just endured, he was able to tell investigators what his attacker looked like. He described an average-looking white man in his late 20s, approximately 5'8", 5'10", weighing around 160 pounds. The man had sandy or light brown hair, a mustache, and perhaps most strangely, a calm and polite speaking voice. Was the first physical description police had of the man they believed could be responsible for both Bright and the Otero murders. Detectives took Kevin's description and created a composite sketch. That sketch was distributed to local patrol officers. A teletype alert was sent across Kansas warning law enforcement to watch for a clean-cut man matching the description. For the first time, Dennis Rader had a face attached to him, or at least something close to one, and investigators were now looking for him. It's like a shame that he was such a severely average-looking man because there was nothing to identify him as. It's just like, he's a man. Literally, everything he just described is like a person. Just a person. Anybody.
calm, polite speaking voice.
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm like holding a gun to somebody's face and I feel like I would have
On the ground, you know, they have like some husky where I like some assertiveness. But excuse me, could you hands up, please, so I could tie them up?
Please, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You're being so kind. Thank you.
I don't know. I can't picture it. I'd have to like actually see it and hear it myself, but I can't picture
But
it.
again, that's why I'm saying this is so horrifying, because he was just a person.
Yeah, just an average Joe.
You know, he's not like a vampire. He's not like somebody who looks like they're going to hurt you. And I mean, they always say, like, don't judge a book by its cover. I ironically judge the book by its cover, okay? That's our survival instinct. I don't know why people use that as a term, because you should be judging books by their cover.
I've been starting to do that the older I get, honestly. As people, the older they get, show their true colors even more, too. Because they give less of a fuck.
Yeah, I get
But
it.
also, too, didn't he say he was like 5'8"? I feel like that's short for a man.
Is that short?
For a man, I would say maybe it's average. Maybe I'm
5'1". Like, that's monstrous to me, okay? That's tall.
for a woman that's short. I think average women's height is about 5. My height is 5'6". I think 5'8" for a man is quite short. And so like, and he doesn't.
So maybe that is an identifying feature, I guess.
160 pounds, 5'8". He's like a small guy.
Just shrimp. You would think like they're
Put up more of a fight. I mean, it's not like they didn't. Obviously, the young boy
he was 19 years old. I mean, maybe he was a shrimp too. We don't know. I don't know.
I know, but it seems like he's just getting away with all this, and he's not anything to fucking write home about.
No, it's not. He didn't seem scary or menacing.
Yeah, but he's got a polite boy.
The way he like tries to manipulate the situation, like the first one, it was like, oh, like I just need some money. I need to get out of town. It's like almost sympathetic.
Yes.
Like,
and this guy
one,
was on the run.
I'm like a convict, whatever. Like, I'm not trying to hurt you. Just give me your cars, give me your keys, and just let me go. You know, type thing. It's almost like disarming.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly what it is. That's why, though, I think, is because that's how he coerces them. And he's doing. I mean, and bind him up.
It's not like he is putting on a face that is still slightly disturbing. Like, okay, like you don't want a convict in your home. You don't want a person running from the law, like coming out of your home. It's not like he knocks on the door and he's like, you know, has anybody asked you if you believe in Christ today? Like, you know, he's not knocking on your door like he's a Mormon trying to get in your house. Like, that would be the way to do it.
He still has them on edge, but it's also like sympathetic, like you just said. And like,
I don't know. It's very strange.
it's like, I'll hurt people, but I won't hurt you.
He's interesting. Very interesting to me. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, but like...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's crazy, though, that this is two people that he worked with at Coleman, 2 people that didn't even know he existed.
Yeah, again, he set his sights on, and it said she got a whole nother job.
Yeah, like she wasn't. That's the same thing with Julia, though. Like
she moved.
They only worked at the same company for what, like 2 weeks together, like on site.
I just started a new job, and
she's like, I don't know who y'all is. I'm kind of scared.
Oh, it's only been 2 weeks. I don't know.
This is also something that comes up with the investigation of this. Well, Julia and Kathryn had worked at the Coleman Company. That immediately gave investigators a possible link between the 2 murders. They began cross-referencing Kevin's description with personnel records at the factory. And this is where the investigation took an unfortunate turn. Investigators focused primarily on the current male employees. Dennis Rader wasn't one of them. He had voluntarily left Coleman in July of 1973. That's months before the murders, and his personal file had been placed in an inactive archives. What wasn't investigated, and the man they were looking for was already in the records they were searching. They just didn't find him. I've worked in manufacturing plants like this, and it is a revolving door.
Oh yeah.
Like, sometimes you'll meet a person and they're literally gone the next day.
Yep.
So it's wild to think that they weren't looking into like people who previously worked there, because
obviously,
I mean, it could have been weeks, it could have been months, it could have been 2 days. Like these places, high turnover rate, like you said, but
somebody working there for 2 days doesn't necessarily throw up a red flag, like somebody that worked closely with the victims or they knew them personally. So I can see where the disconnect would be, regardless that he worked in the same building.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but like, if you're really trying to solve these murders, I want everybody who worked here in the last 6 years. Like, I don't care how short the duration was. They could have been.
You would think, yeah, especially after 6 people have been killed at this point
that have been linked there.
I'm sorry, 5 people.
5 people.
Yes.
The attack on Kathryn Bright had also taught Dennis something. His carefully constructed fantasy hadn't gone according to plan. Kevin had broken free. He had fought back. He had survived being shot. And now he had given police a description of the man who had attacked him. Rader knew he had come dangerously close to being caught, so he went quiet. For approximately 3 years, there would be no confirmed murders attributed to him. But quiet didn't mean gone. Rader's fantasy life continued, and while the investigation slowly lost momentum, Dennis Rader was building an even more useful identity for himself. In November of 1974, he took a job at ADT Security Services. On the surface, it was simply another job, but it would give him something his previous employment never could: access. As a security installer, Rader knew that entering people's homes was part of his job. He could examine the layouts of houses, identify entrances and windows, observe security systems, and learn routines of people who lived inside of them. The man police had been told to look for was a stranger lingering around neighborhoods. Now Dennis Rader had a legitimate reason to be there. He could drive down a residential street in a company vehicle, park in front of a house, walk up to someone's door, look in their windows, examine their locks, study their floor plan, and nobody had to wonder why. He was doing his job. That uniform gave him something far more valuable than anonymity. It gave him an explanation for being exactly where he wanted to be. So, as I stated previously, I knew nothing about this, and the fact that he worked at like ADT, which was like a super popular security service at the time, I mean, I remember it still popping off in the 90s before like...
My house actually had the sign on it before I moved in.
That's countless homes. Like, that terrifying, because these people literally are, like, especially in those days. Now it's like, you pop up a Ring camera or you do your own video surveillance with like Simply Safe or whatever. But at the time, you like hired somebody to come in your home and install these cameras, which means that they know
how to undo
more about it.
Yes, and he can undo it at the click of a button, or he knows their alarm codes because he programmed the code and those types of things. So that's even more terrifying. I didn't even know that about him, but knowing how he surveilled people and his MO with that
for him,
perfect.
Yeah,
it couldn't even get any better.
I guess like ADT actually like spoke about this at the time, because people were like, "What's going on with you? Like, what are your hiring practices or whatever?" But like, We have literally no criminal history at the time. Like, he's a military man. He's, like, what?
A polite, speaking voice.
Yeah, and if anything, they said that, like, he was an overzealous rule follower. Like, he was, like, by the books. Like, they were, like, perfect gold star employee.
Yep. Freaks me out even more.
Now you're like, well, I'm glad I installed my own surveillance system and no nobody, But yeah,
I got cameras everywhere.
But now I got a question: who can get into those camera servers?
Stop.
I'm sorry.
They're not in bedrooms.
I'm sorry. That's why I won't do it, because it's just all too easy to just be hacking servers and just.
They're gonna be watching me out like,
I don't know why they Riley. They can do this. They can do all that. They can hack into all of it. Your cell phone, all of it.
You're gonna be watching me on the couch watching Twilight.
That's all you're okay. Mm-hmm. I see what you're doing. I'm just saying. Simplify what you're doing.
It freaks me out the most, though, is now your phones can actually hear the things that you're saying, and then you get ads for things, and other people get is because you're sitting there.
But I don't even know. This has been going on for probably like 10 years at this point. It's crazy.
No, but it is.
It's like finally just like confirmed and accepted by people. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore.
He was active like in 2026. I mean, he could just
he probably would be like a tech guy and like be into that. He will be like hacking people's computers and their webcams and all that. So whack. While Dennis Rader was settling into his new role, his personal life was changing too. In 1975, Paula gave birth to their first child, Brian. Dennis was now a husband and father. From the outside, his life was becoming even more conventional. And underneath it all, the fantasies remained. The case had gone cold, but Dennis Rader hadn't disappeared because the desire was gone. He had disappeared because he had learned something from Kathryn Bright. He needed better control, he needed better planning, and he needed a way to make his ordinary life work for him. For nearly 3 years, Wichita heard nothing from the man who had murdered the Oteros and Kathryn Bright. But silence didn't mean Dennis Rader had forgotten about BTK. In fact, something else was beginning to bother him. He wanted people to know. Dennis Rader had killed, but he wasn't satisfied with simply getting away with it. He wanted recognition. He wanted his crimes to have a name. He wanted the police, the newspapers, and eventually the entire city to know that someone was responsible.
Okay, guys, that was today's episode. Stay tuned next week for part 2. We will see you then. Bye.